What's up, guys? Welcome back. And welcome to the ultimate graphic tablet breakdown. Now, since you're here, you're probably doing digital art of some sort. And whether that is concept art, or drawing comics, or just your individual illustration, it really doesn't matter. If you're doing anything digital, you need, of course, a graphic tablet. Today, I want to share my experience of 21 years of using different tablets and trying out even more. So if you're in the market for a graphic tablet, or if you're just interested in some graphic tablet history, stick around. All right, so very sadly, I do not have my first graphic tablet anymore, but it was this one, the Wacom Intuos 3, and I bought it in 2005 and it was $500, so quite expensive. Back then I just started at art school, and I told this before, it just so happened that I was the only one who had one. And not even the university had them, so nobody knew how to use them really. So this tablet, the Intuos 3, was actually pretty good, to the point where you could still use it today if you really want it. Now, Wacom tablets typically never break, but I still do not recommend you get this today. Also, I did my very first digital painting with this thing, that I actually made a video about here on the channel, repainting it after roughly 20 years or so. I'll put it up here, so in case you're interested and you want to see that. Also, here is some of what I did on the Intuos 3. Just keep in mind I was lacking a lot of experience back then. Now, the next tablet that I got was the Wacom Bamboo, the original one. And I got it right here. In 2008, I had to go to Mexico City for a couple of months, so I needed something to bring along for my laptop. And this thing is not great. Well, it was alright for a small laptop screen, and I really like those physical buttons. But the main problem with it was the accuracy of the pen. The pen being this flimsy little thing, it felt pretty floaty. However, this is very nostalgic to me, so I'll give it a pass, but it does not come recommended. And here's some stuff I did on a very bad laptop monitor using exactly that Bamboo. And then, one day, in 2010, came one of my favorite devices of all time, the excellent Intuos 4. I bought this in Taipei City and immediately it felt like an upgrade. Great buttons, had the wheel, it was solid, it felt nice, accurate, and the best thing, take a look, it had over here where the physical buttons are, it had little LCD screens next to the button that would show exactly what you would name the button. Freaking genius. Now, with this, I did a ton of work, and I think I used this the longest of any tablet yet, about 8 years, I would say. This thing is so good that if you find this today for $50 used, I would still recommend you get this. The only downside today, nowadays, is the rather big footprint. So as you can see, it has quite some unnecessary bulk around the active area here. So that's something that newer tablets have much less of, and much better ratio of active area to the actual size of the device. And also, it had this pen, which is the slim pen with no rubber around. It feels awesome. I wish I had this exact pen for the newer generations, because I hate rubber. If you might know that if you watch the channel, because I complain about this a lot. So before we move on to the next device, this is some stuff done by the Intuos 4 while I was slowly gathering more and more experience. So now we are slowly but surely reaching present day. It must have been around 2018 when I bought the tablet that I'm still using today, which is the Intuos Pro 2nd generation. And this thing, take a look, is insanely good. So it was the current model for years and only recently got replaced by the new version of the Pro. And this thing has everything. It has wireless connection, built-in battery, touch input, physical buttons, the wheel, and you can switch out the material on the active area. Talking about all of that thing, which I did. And because this came with a medium roughness, that was too rough for my taste since I'm used to the old school tablets. So I bought the smoother one for around $50, exchanged it, and it feels great. And your pen tip won't degrade as fast since there is less friction. The only downside to this is the pen. Now why, you might ask? There is a lack of alternatives to this pen. This pen comes with a rubberized grip. And much unlike my beloved Intuos 4 Slim Pen, you cannot just buy a slim pen. In all actuality, you can buy a slim pen, but it is still rubberized, and I freaking hate the feeling of that, as I said before. Which is why, if you realize that this looks a little bit weird, I replaced the rubber part with some 3D printed plastic, right? So that is how much I care, okay? But everything considered, this tablet is a no-brainer. It also became slightly cheaper over time. If you find it, get it. You can find it easily. It's just, you might even find it used as of today. So, present day, is that it? You might ask, he lived happily ever after. Well, not quite. But before we move on, here's what I did and what I am still doing with that thing. And what happened then is very shortly after, I bought another tablet. Because you guessed it, I needed a solution for traveling again. And this one was this bad boy, the Intuos Non-Pro Hobbyist/Consumer Edition. And it is available to this day, and it may be the best bang for your buck that has ever been out there. This is the bigger of two versions, comes in an L and an S. And I have recommended this to students for years now. It is cheap, it is accurate enough till about 24-inch monitor size. It is wireless, it has physical buttons, which I just love. Not having physical buttons is always a downside to me, because there's nothing like that real feeling of actuation of a button when you're working fast and intuitive. So also the pen is good, simple, good, thin, light. What more do you want, right? And yes, I know what you're gonna say. You're gonna say, of course, a built-in screen. Right. So let's get into that one. While I have the Intuos Pro 2018 edition that I just showed you, that I still use, I did at one time buy the Wacom Cintiq Pro 16-inch from 2021. That is a tablet with a screen. It cost $1,600 and it was supposed to be the dream. 4K, color accurate, smooth design, metal build, and I did not like it at all. Now, this is the part of the video where I feel different than quite some people. But I think it is a perspective that you rarely get and that you can appreciate. So now we were back to a 16-inch screen, and I had to look down slightly when I was drawing. That's not too great when you're used to a 27-inch display straight ahead of you, where you just can have a clear view of at all times. And also, this thing got warm. And it had a built-in fan, and you could tell whenever that fan came on. So another thing that really is bothering. And then it had some cables coming out, and you had to have the right USB-C and or HDMI combo to get this to run at 4K at all. And a lot of people had problems with that. And on top of that, slightly older versions of Photoshop or other apps would not scale well with 4K 16-inch. Everything was very small. And also, there was still an offset in terms of the tip of your pen and where it digitally was located on the canvas. And then you needed to recalibrate that. And yeah, another thing that you needed to get right. And no buttons on the damn thing for some reason. So all in all, not a fan of this device. But the biggest thing was, and this is crazy, drawing where your hand was felt restrictive at that size of just 16-inch. I was used to not seeing my hand. I was seeing only the cursor on screen with the regular tablet, of course. And that's what feels free to me. Now I had to deal with my hand getting in the way again. And I mean, on a 24-inch screen, this might not be an issue, but on the 16-inch, for me, it still was annoying. So the thing, just to recap, that most young people, aka my students, love, which is to be able to draw where you're looking at your hand, for me is the biggest downside to these kinds of tablets. And all the beginners have that same issue. They can't coordinate looking at the screen while drawing down here, right? But at the same time, all the old school pros know this is a non-issue after only a few days. Once you get used to it, there is no downside to not having a screen on a tablet. So just keep that in mind. Have to think ahead a little bit. Sometimes you will evolve quite fast and you will get used to not having the screen, not looking at your hand while drawing. Now, you might ask, why am I not holding this into the camera? And the reason is very simple, because I sold it. After some 6 months or so, I've had enough and it was just way too expensive to not get used and lie around in the office. So after that, some years passed and I did not get a screen tablet again until last year I got this. And this is the Huion Canvas Pro 16-inch 1440p. So I tried this out live in Taipei City at their official booth, and I even did a little painting demo on it, and this really surprised me. Because this brand is started some 10 years ago and was considered to be cheaper and inferior. But the Taiwanese tech advances fast and their new stuff is excellent. So this thing, it's simple, has physical buttons, which is a big deal for a screen tablet. It does not have a fan. It is 1440p like most monitors, so you simply mirror it with most displays and with a single cable, and it just looks right. It's thin, you can use this on your lap, doesn't get too warm, it has several pans to choose from, with no batteries required, same as the Wacoms, and it is only around $500. So this comes highly recommended, even though I still prefer the screenless tablets overall, but there really are not much downsides objectively to the screen tablet and the likes anymore. So I'm keeping this, and in the future I will always consider Huion as a contender when I'm looking for tablets. Because you have to understand, for years and years, Wacom was simply the only thing you could buy as a professional, and everything else was pretty much inferior. It was quite finicky, driver issues, and a lot of problems. So now, I hope this was informative. There are a lot of tablets in between the ones I showed you that came out over the years that are similar, and of course no one would buy all of them. It just wouldn't make sense. So it always comes down to this. How does it feel? I really urge you to pay attention to the human form and usability factors of those tablets, and not only the technical specs. Because the most important thing, especially today, where the tech is already pretty good, right, in all of them, is that it feels good to use. Because you're not a machine. You have to be intuitive and you feel the material. It has to be pleasing experience to use the thing. And with that, leave your comments, questions, suggestions down below, all of that jazz. Let me know what tablets you like most. Are you a screen guy, or have you gotten used to the non-screen tablets? Let me know, and see you next time. Take care.